I'm Karen from Countyfairgrounds USA, countyfairgrounds.net. Welcome to today's podcast.
Do I have the one and the only original Mike Walker on the line with me?
You sure do.
Hi, Mr. Mike Walker. I always wanted to talk to you. How are you today?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So you're listed as you sort of like impersonate people, but you didn't start out that way, did you?
I'm an impressionist.
So you didn't start out as an impressionist, did you?
No, I started out as a singer. And when I first started singing, I started listening to Elvis Presley, and he was actually the first voice that I actually heard besides my mother's. And so I was very, very enthralled with his voice, and it inspired me to start singing, you know. Everybody's got somebody they're inspired by, I guess.
Have you ever done anything else besides sing for a living?
Not really. I've been doing it since I was 5 years old professionally.
5 years old.
Yep. Started singing in nursing homes and got paid $250 a show. Usually Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays is when I used to do those things. My mother worked in the nursing homes, so we started working out in nursing homes and started working on in the area of Columbus, Ohio. And of course, there's not a time that there have been a lot of selections of nursing homes whenever I was a kid, so it was pretty stable.
And how old were you when you started doing that?
5.
Did you get paid for it at 5?
At $250 every show.
Really? At 5 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
Man. I'm kind of jealous. Not many 5-year-olds can say that.
No, it was a pretty good deal. You know, my mom, I was an Elvis impersonator, so I would dye my hair black because my hair was blonde, and used to do a lot of different nursing homes. We made a lot of different outfits. My mother made all my costumes for me, and I did the 70s Elvis, so I was like a little kid dressed up in a jumpsuit. It was funny. And my dad ran my sound for me, and did that till I was about 13, and I threw the cape out, and that was the end of it. Elvis had left the building. I started doing some more Elvis stuff, but I ended up doing my own music too, with some country music and stuff. So I got into rockabilly and country and all kinds of different styles of music back then. And
I have to ask you, do you have any brothers and sisters? I'm curious.
I do. I have a sister. Mm-hmm. She's older than me, 5 years.
Did she do this too?
No, she never was entertaining. She wasn't into the entertainment business at all. She got into it when she was older, started doing, little shows here and there. But for the most part, she just, kind of did her own thing, and she was did a little bit of modeling and things like that. So. Okay,
so you were working on doing your own music, and you did Honey Do, and it was quite popular. So how did that happen?
Well, a lot of stuff happened before then to make that happen. I ended up doing rockabilly music, and it's just I started working with Carl Perkins. Carl Perkins lived in my hometown, so I did Carl Perkins's telethons every year, and started working with the Coasters and the Drifters and all the doo-wop acts back in the day. I opened for some rock acts in the 90s. I started doing stuff with Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, Air Supply, Journey. I did a couple of things with Motley Crue when they first, whenever I first started and stuff like that. So I was into different kinds of genres of music all over the place. But Carl kind of, helped me out with getting into some of the rockabilly stuff. And the name started going around, and I started being an opening act for a lot of different artists back then. And then I threw my hat, and I had a record deal with Rockabilly Records out of Jackson, Tennessee. And and then I started. Then I got a management deal with Dale Morrison Associates out of Nashville, and we did a lot of showcases for Nashville record labels, and we ended up being with DreamWorks. So then I started, and then I had 4 songs released to country radio, the video on CMT and all that stuff. And just here recently, over the past, I think Honeydew, that DreamWorks album was the last album produced in that studio with analog recording with 2-inch tape. And then there was 14 songs on that first album too, which was a record breaker because nobody had ever put that many songs on a CD before. It'd just be one single album, especially on their debut album. Another cool thing was that I got to put 3 of my own songs on there, which was pretty much unheard of, back then.
What were they? I'm curious.
The first was I Want a Little More. That was one of the ones that I wrote, and then Honey Love Me That Way, and then If There's a Chance to Say I Love You was the final single off of that album. And it was not my choice to put that song out. I mean, I know I wrote it with I co-wrote it, but I didn't think the song was strong enough to put out as a single. So I asked them to not put that song out and put out another song. And the song was It's Just a Memory. To me, that song was that's what was fixing to happen to country music. It was going to go into the pop era, and it did. Yeah. But they didn't want to release the song. So.
Oh. Okay. So where did you go from after doing this? Because you started impersonating people. So I mean. Yeah,
I did. I always did that. I've always done impressions and things like that. But my point is that I only did like 15 minutes of that in my shows. And then I did my own stuff. But then I was in Nashville doing a songwriters night, and just so happened Mickey Gilley and John Anderson was across the street doing a birthday party for Larry the Cable Guy. And so after they got through with that, I worked with John several times, out on the road. So John knew me real well, and he told Mickey to come across the street and to listen to what I was doing. So Mickey come over to the place where I was doing the writers' night, and I started, I couldn't do all original songs in that place, so I started doing some impressions of some of my favorite singers, and ended up doing some Conway Twitty stuff. Well, Conway and Mickey were real close friends. Okay. So when I got through with that, he goes, "Hey, man, you need to come to Branson." And I'd never heard of the place, so I was doing a show with Toby Keith in Springfield, and I was opening the shows for Toby Keith at the time. And we did a show over here in Springfield at one of the big forums over there. I don't remember what it's called. But after he got through, I rented a car, and I come over here to Branson and hung out with Mickey for about 3 days, and that's how I ended up here in Branson.
Okay. Yeah, you sort of got stuck in Branson.
Yeah, and then I didn't, I figured it would be a great place to raise your family, and things like that. So I ended up sending my bus back to Nashville and kind of uprooted and moved here and to Branson. And just kind of did my own thing here with the Impression show for a while. And then in 2019, my wife decided it was time for me to start putting records out to the international slots again. So I ended up coming to the studio here, found a studio in Branson, Missouri. It's Roller Music Pro recording studio here in Branson. And, we just hit it off, and it was a good fit. And to me, it was as good as anything I'd ever used in Nashville. And so I ended up putting a record together. And my first single, it was scary because I hadn't done it in 20 years. I hadn't put a single out on the radio in 20 years. So the record business had changed. It's all digital at that point. Records weren't selling like they used to.
Yes, so I remember.
I ended up doing this. I ended up doing this record here, and my first single went out. It was very controversial, It was called The Ultimate Veteran, and it was about Jesus. So I put that out, and it was on the air for an entire year. Like, it was really strange. I put it out February the 2nd of 2019. February 2nd of 2020, it hit number 1. My first single out. So, I mean, look, there's only one way you can go from number 1, and that's down.
Oh, come on! It can't be that bad.
Oh, no! It was great. I mean, talk about a confidence builder, you know. And then I put the second one out, and it went to number 2. Mm-hmm. And then the third one I put out, and it's out now. It's called "What If You're Wrong," and it's in the gospel market. I don't want to do any, you know. But my whole thing now is different than it was back then. You know, that back then I didn't have anything to say. You know, as we get older, we get a little bit more keen, and I think we have a little bit more responsibility to the listening ears to put people in better moods. There's so much negativity, you know, in the world. I think it's our problem.
Right.
To be creative enough to make people smile, to make people bring positivity to the negative world.
I mean, I do my bit. I try really, really hard. I understand what you're saying. There is enough depression around, believe me.
Yeah, we're all depressed.
Yeah. You didn't do anything for 20 years. What did you do for those 20 years, by the way?
Well, I mean, I've squeezed every ounce of juice out of the lemon that I made in Nashville. You know, I Honeydew, Who's Your Daddy, you know, those songs, there was, you know, all 4 of those songs were, you know, they were on karaoke for years, and so people would use those, and that, you know, that would be the end of that. And then I just kind of dried it up and then decided to do another album. Okay,
but you perform now. You perform now in Branson primarily, right?
No, actually, I do perform in Branson as my sit-down gig, but I do travel a lot. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be a lot of different places. I'm going to be in Iowa, Wyoming, everywhere. Texas, Florida. I'm all over the United States, you know, touring still. But I do mostly fairs and festivals, you know.
Okay.
So it's a lot of fun.
Well, Mr. Mike, I looked at your schedule, and the only thing I saw in there was the Branson stuff.
Yeah, we haven't put all that stuff up yet.
Shame on you.
On the website, yeah.
Yeah, people do go to your website, you know.
Yeah, it should be under On the Road.
Okay, all right. So
Walker on the Road.
Okay, so, you know, I listened to some of the videos, and you're, you know, you really impersonate, and here I am with that word again, these country Western artists really, really well. How did you get into that? I mean, you do it so well. I've never heard anybody do it as well as you do.
Oh, well, that's cool. I appreciate that. I really do. You know, I started doing it. The reason that I started doing impressions is I put a band together when I was a kid. It was right after I dumped the Elvis thing. I started doing my own stuff and doing some country stuff. I was doing a party, and this really drunk guy walks up to me, and he goes, "Hey, you know who sang that last song, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, sir, Travis Tritt." He goes, "Yeah, I'd probably just go ahead and let him sing that one." And so, you know, a lot of people would have been disheartened by that, but me, being stupid and resilient to anything that hurts, I just took it upon myself to buy a couple of tape recorders, and I used to play my cassettes of my favorite artist on one and record myself sounding like I'm on the other one, and I would just continue to do that until I couldn't tell them the difference.
Oh,
and so I just started developing that kind of thing and developing a process to where it would make sense, you know. And so I started putting them in the show, and people ask me all the time how many of them I do, how many impressions do I do? Well, I don't know. I never counted all of them. I don't need more than 90 minutes in any case. So it doesn't really matter, you know.
Well, let me ask you this question. You do Willie Nelson, like, has Willie Nelson ever heard you impersonate him?
Yes, actually, I played at the Borgata in New Jersey, and
okay.
It was, and Willie Nelson was booked on the night show, and I was the matinee show there, and he came in to listen to me, and it was so funny when I saw him. He shook my hand, and goes, "Nice set of lungs, nice set of lungs." That's all he said to me. Trump's the guy. Trump was the one that booked me there at the President Trump was the one that booked me at the time at the Borgata. So I had talked to Trump several times and got to know him pretty well, and he would have me back every now and then. But that Willie Nelson thing, that was a cool thing. And then I worked with Engelbert Humperdinck, which was another funny guy.
Mhm. Yeah,
but
I remember him. yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, after the 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, where do you think you go from here?
You know what? I think we just put out a new album. We got a couple of albums out actually right now. I'm doing a lot of producing right now. I'm producing this young lady from Montana. And I'm in the studio right now as I'm speaking to you, finishing this record up today. And then it'll be out. Her name is Lorraine Andrusky out of Montana. And she's just a great singer. She kind of reminds me of Ronnie Spector from the Ronettes.
Okay. I remember them too. That says
yeah.
a lot about my age, doesn't it?
Not really, because, I mean, you don't have to be old to like good music.
That's true. Besides, old is a frame of mind.
That's right.
Hey, do you have any kids?
4.
Okay, so
next
what are
week,
they doing?
My daughter graduates from high school. She's 18, and then I've got a girl that's 9, and then a girl that's 7, and then my son is 11 years old.
Okay, so what do they think of their dad singing and all this stuff?
They don't really care for the music industry that much. They're good and talented kids, but I think it's because I have to be gone so much. They look at it as a, they look at it as a thorn instead of a rose. Yeah,
well, give them a while, Mike. Things will change.
Yeah, I don't know if it will or not, but what happens is as they get older, my eldest daughter, she comes out with me on the road sometimes and sings and performs as well. And my son does too. He's a great singer. He's a great little singer. He's got but all of my kids are talented in some way, shape, or form. So I'm very blessed with that. It's just, if they want to tap into that, the Pandora's box, that's up to them. I don't do like, there's a lot of artists that make their kids perform. They think it's going to make them money and all that stuff. I don't do that because it has to be their choice. If they want to do it, that's great. If they don't, I'll support that too. Yeah, well, I got to tell you, as a mother, if I had my 5-year-old do what you did, I don't know how I would feel about it either. Yeah, but I enjoyed it. It was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't something that was pushed upon me. See, there's a difference. When you're pushed on it, when somebody pushes something on you, it's almost like it just it's a deterrent instead of a pathway. All right, so you've never really ever done anything else except music, right? Not really. Mm-mm. Well, during the pandemic, I did. I ended up doing some building and stuff. My dad's a handyman. He did a lot of stuff back then, did some building and remodeling and things like that. So I learned a lot about that, and I can do some of that stuff. So during the pandemic, when entertainers found out how low they actually were on the totem pole, I started slinging a hammer
sure.
a little bit, and it was fine. I enjoyed it. It was good. It paid the bills. I'm up for whatever pays the bills,
Well, I think you do a good job, Mr. Mike. Just singing the way that you do. Appreciate what you do. Okay. All right. Well, so what have you got coming up close?
Let's see. I'm going to be, let me check this out. On the schedule, I am going to this next week. I'm going to be in Georgia, and then I think my next gig that I'm having at a fair or festival, it's going to be in. I'm looking on my calendar right now. I just got back from Florida. Let's see. It's going to be Anchorfest, June the 4th. It's going to be in Centralia, Missouri.
Okay.
So it's called Anchorfest. And the website, we have a great show here in town, too, that I'm part of, that I get to be part of. It's called the Statler Brothers Revisited. And we do a lot of the Statler Brothers shows. So that's a lot of fun. We do that on Mondays and Thursday nights at 8. And then I do my impression show Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in the afternoons at 2 o'clock. I do the shows at 2 o'clock at the Hamner Variety Theater. And then the 23rd through the 26th, I will be in Butler County in Iowa. So that's going to be there for this month. But I really appreciate you calling me, and I really appreciate doing you doing this with me, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Okay. Well, I've enjoyed talking to you, and have a great summer. And how do people reach you if they want to?
www.mikewalkermth.com.
Okay.
Just go to the website. There's a place in there you can get it.
Now, Mr. Mike, be a nice guy and go post your schedule for me, please.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mike. Bye.
Bye-bye.